Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dan Ripke. I'm the Executive Director of the Educational Association of University Centers, and I am here with Bernadette. Bernadette, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, this is Bernadette Grafton. I am in our headquarters office at EDA. I'm hoping you've all heard my name by now. I'm the University Center Coordinator here, and my hope is that I can work with you all to strengthen the network of university centers across the nation and give you more opportunities to learn from each other, and also just get the word out about the great work that you're doing. So I know I've reached out to many of you, and for a number of different reasons, whether that was updating the website or just giving myself some more updated contact information so I can reach out to you whenever needed. But we're still working towards all of our goals of getting all of your information updated on our website and getting a better map, making sure that your one-pagers are all up to date. So you'll be hearing more from me soon, but I'm really thankful that you've all taken the time to be with us here today for this webinar. We're trying to give you all a great resource, provide you with an opportunity to learn about what others are doing and also hear more about what's going on at EDA. And what's going on with the Educational Association of University Centers. So I'll just turn it back over to Dan.
Great, thank you, Bernadette. So as Bernadette mentioned, this is our every other month webinar series. This is our third so far. We had our first one back in July that focused on best practices in university centers in general. The one we held in September, focused on best practices in terms of collaborating with economic development districts and university centers. And so this one, we've taken more of a focus on the Regional Innovation Strategies program. So this topic, as well as the other ones, came mostly on request of all of the university centers around the country. So if you have ideas, please reach out to either myself or Bernadette, or if you have a best practice you'd like to share, likewise, just reach out to us. So, this is an attempt by both the EAUC and EDA to create a community of best practices, as well as to increase if you will, community feel amongst all the university centers across the country. We'll be using a variety of tools, including email communication, the webinars, as well as in-person events to try to create more of a there in terms of an Economic Development Association University Center community. So real quick, I will give kind of an update from the Educational Association of University Centers. We held a meeting just prior to the University Economic Development Association annual conference in Reno, back at the end of September, early October. It was a meeting in Reno where most of the discussion focused around resource identification, coming up with success stories, as well as identifying kind of category of best practices, or a method of categorizing best practices that we'll be implementing over the course of the next 12 to 18 months. So that it was a very fruitful discussion. We have the notes from that, and so we'll be sharing that in the future. One of the things that maybe Bernadette you can go into a little bit later on is that we did have strong participation by EDA at this year's University Economic Development Association annual conference. For those of you who have had a university center for 10 years or more might remember that EDA in the past has had a really strong presence within UEDA as well as EAUC. And so it was great that we could have both Bernadette as well as Dennis there participating in the conference. So the EAUC in the past has been a membership organization, and we hope to return to that in the near future, sometime around the first of the year. What the Educational Association of University Centers provides is a means of communication and focusing on ways to, assure that we're communicating a message about the successes and the qualitative and quantitative impact of the EDA University Center program. We do excellent work. We don't usually spend a lot of our funding out there to get the word out. And so what the EAUC has done in the past is help to get the word out to Capitol Hill, help to get the word out to those who may be able to influence whether or not the funding continues for the University Center program, as well as opportunities to maybe expand the funding. In the entire 30 plus years that I've been around the University Center program, I have never seen an increase in funding, and I think that really needs to be corrected in the long term. The other thing we'll be doing is creating newsletter content where we'll be sharing updates about what is happening in terms of funding, both through the EDA University Center program, as well as the roughly 12 other federal agencies that fund University Economic Development Programming. And then part of that membership will also include a members-only web content that we'll be putting out there so that people can have access to that content, as well as we're looking to design, if you will, kind of an online community behind the members-only portal, so that you can ask questions of other members, hopefully share reports, share scopes of work, that type of thing. So we're really looking forward to that. Again, we'll find more information about that right at the beginning of the year, 2020. Finally, last but not least, is each year in the past, we've held what's called an EAUC annual conference in Washington, D.C. It's typically been in the March-April timeframe. Right now, we're tentatively looking at holding it the week of March 15th. Again, I need to coordinate that with both EDA as well as some other key speakers that we're hoping to invite. That happens to coincide also with the NATO, or the National Association of Development Organizations, annual conference in Washington, D.C. as well. So we're hoping to, if you will, have a sister conference with the NATO's annual conference as well. And that kind of goes off the idea that Bernadette's brought forward, which is the partnering between the EDA University Centers and the EDA Economic Development Districts. So this list right here gives you an outline of the past speakers who have been present and we hope to invite to this year's EAUC conference. It has traditionally started on a Sunday evening and gone through Monday and Tuesday. We are working on the details to see if that'll be the same programming. So, but we're really looking forward to everyone out in Washington, D.C. It's a great opportunity for everyone to meet with other EDA University Centers, and it's a great way for us to have a dialogue with EDA and the other federal agencies while we're there. And that's it for my discussion. Bernadette, would you like to take over?
Yeah, thank you, Dan. I need to, okay. All right, so I just want to reiterate what Dan was saying regarding the UEDA conference. It was a really great conference. I'm so glad I was able to make it. There were about 10 or so university centers who were present, and it was just a good opportunity to talk to other universities who may have very little to no experience with the University Center program, and to just reiterate points of what we're trying to accomplish here is creating a network and just greater understanding of what resources are out there, and trying to make the best use of what limited resources we do have. So it was a great opportunity. Thank you to those who went, if you're on the phone now. And just regarding other events, I don't know how many are planning on attending or if it's relevant for you, but I'll be at the 2019 National Brownfields Training Conference in December, coming up in a couple of weeks. We've got a few panels there. Another aspect of my work is with our Research and National Technical Assistance Program, which is a grant program out of our headquarters office. And we're currently doing some work around nuclear power plant decommissioning, and it's becoming a really big topic. And that's one of the sessions that we'll be having there. So if you are attending, you will see me at the conference. Hopefully you'll reach out. And just a note on a couple of new tools. I was telling you last time we met about Stats America, and we've got 2 new tools that are now available on Stats America. One is our Regionizer tool, which that actually allows you to define the profile that you want to look at just by selecting counties. So this tool gives you demographic information, income information. There's educational, a lot of this basic data, but that also includes commuting information on there. So I encourage you all to check it out. It's been really useful for some of our economic development districts. You might also find it helpful, especially if you're working in specific counties and you're interested in understanding the relationship between those and kind of who's moving between counties. That might be helpful. Then we also have the USA Opportunity Zones tool. This is brand new. We just did a soft launch on that this week. So if you just go to staffamerica.org/opportunity, you'll find it there. This is a tool with an abundance of data there at all levels, at the census tract level, at the county level, EDD level, if there is an EDD there, but also at our EDA regional level. So please check it out. We're open to feedback on that if you have any suggestions for how it might be improved or any other information you'd like to see on there. There are a lot of resources that we've linked to, so please check it out and provide your feedback if you have it. Then we've got a couple of new notices of fund and opportunity out there. We just updated our Public Works and Economic Adjustment Assistant Programs NOFO, so the FY 2020 NOFO now replaces the one that was up there previously. I want to note here that this is a new name. It's now the PWEA NOFO instead of our EDAP NOFO. It just made more sense, and that's really not important as to why it made more sense, but in terms of the programs that are being funded under it, PWEA makes the most sense here. So we've renamed that. And then we also have the Accelerate R2 Network Challenge NOFO, which our guest speakers will be discussing shortly, so I won't talk any more about that. Just a slide on the rest of our funding opportunities that are available. We've got a new 2019 Disaster Supplemental NOFO, applications accepted on a rolling basis. We've got our short-term planning and local technical assistance NOFO in the works. The one that's up there is the one that we're using now, but I just wanted to keep letting you all know that we have a new one that will be available soon. We're still refining it at the moment. University Center Program NOFO, again, next funding cycle is in 2021, so we've still got a little over a year left on that, and it will be focused on our Chicago Regional Office and our Philadelphia Regional Office. All right, I will turn it over to our speakers, Craig Verstati and Emily Miller. They're joining me here at EDA. They're in our Office of Innovation and Entrepreneurship, and they're here to talk to you a little bit about what's going on right now in their world. So I'll just turn it over.
Thank you, Bernadette. We really appreciate it and glad to be here. I am a policy advisor here in the Office of Innovation and Entrepreneurship and been here for just about a year. So excited to talk to you about the Regional Innovation Strategies Program. And I'm also joined by my colleague, Craig Verstati.
Hey team, it's been a pleasure to connect with some of you over the last 5 years through our work managing the Regional Innovation Strategies portfolio. I know we've got a handful of university centers that are current grantees, or maybe partners of centers are current grantees. And why we wanted to pause and take a minute here to talk to you about some potential updates for the 2020 round. Yeah, so Emily, let's dive in.
All right. So I imagine most of you hopefully are a little bit familiar with our program, but if not, I wanted to give you kind of a high-level overview of the Regional Innovation Strategies Program and also talk about some of our upcoming changes. So the Regional Innovation Strategies Program, RIS, consists of 2 competitions run on an annual basis, the I6 Challenge and the Seed Fund Support. Last year, we awarded roughly $23.5 million, all to support innovation and entrepreneurship-driven economic development in regions across the U.S. Right now, it is not official, but we are marked up for what looks like a $31 million funding amount for 2020. Again, that's not final, but does right now represent a pretty significant bump in funding, so we're very excited about that. You know, I think most people know that our program has been pretty oversubscribed. And so this additional bit of funding will be, I think, really impactful. We do anticipate releasing the competition in early 2020. It looks like most likely February of 2020, though that's not quite official yet, which puts applications due potentially as early as March. So just wanted to kind of put those updates out there so that you can kind of begin thinking through if you're looking to apply, where to start and what to do next. So quickly, overview of our I6 challenge. So the I6 challenge is really meant to kind of build capacity for high growth entrepreneurship. And that takes many shapes, sizes, and forms. We've supported many universities, many accelerators and incubators. The main goal here is that we want to increase the rate at which we commercialize technology. We want businesses to be started, we want jobs to be created, and we really want that kind of high growth, high tech entrepreneurship to take shape in ecosystems around the country. One thing to highlight here is that project funds for the I6 cannot be given directly to startups. So this is strictly programmatic support for entities running these programs. So just wanted to clarify that. The I6 challenge, one thing I will say that might be changing, we're doing some kind of pre-decisional, not yet approved, but kind of rebranding of the program. So the I6 challenge might look a little bit different in terms of the branding and the name, but the spirit of the competition will remain very much the same. Kind of the intended, the desired activities and outcomes remain very similar.
Yeah, and one thing I'd like to add on the point that Emily really drove home is that commercialization and moving businesses, whether it's from concept to scale. In the past, we've used technology readiness levels as an example of the types of progress we're trying to make. Moving technologies from one level to the next. But that is really just one example, and I wanted to drive this home with this audience because I think historically where we've seen some of the university centers struggle a bit is in that application of commercialization and entrepreneurship. We know that there are just such great assets on the research side, but this is not a research program. We're looking for business starts and businesses scaling here. Just wanted to emphasize that for a minute, and if you participated in the past, maybe you were right on target. It is a very competitive program, but I've seen some research teams struggle with that component where they're not quite as responsive to the core nature of this challenge.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great clarification. In addition to the I6 challenge, we also have the seed fund support involved with RISC, so that's our second competition. Again, might have some rebranding here, but the spirit of what we're trying to do remains the same. Seed fund support, what we're trying to do here is really increase access to capital, especially that kind of early stage regional risk capital that, there tends to be a dearth of, that, startups have a hard time finding that capital. So we're really trying to fund these organizations. They could be angel networks, they could be a venture fund, they could be an early stage seed fund, they take many forms. But the main goal here is kind of supporting the back end and the operations of one of these early stage funds. Again, this cannot be used to capitalize the fund itself. It's really only meant for the back end, so things like operational costs, technical assistance, marketing. But the goal here is just to get more of these seed funds in operation and get more capital out there into the ecosystem. So quick summary here, the I6 challenge. There is a $750,000 federal funds cap for this, and we do require a 1-to-1 match. So for every federal dollar that is requested, we mandate that a non-federal dollar comes to the table. So that is a requirement across both the I6 challenge and the seed fund support. Both of them have a 3-year project period. The seed fund support has a $300,000 federal funds cap. These funding amounts might change in 2020. So we are looking at potentially raising the federal funding cap on the I-6 challenge. So keep that in mind. Seed fund support will likely stay the same at $300,000. And I guess the one thing I would want to iterate to this audience is that, you know, February 2020 is really right around the corner. And so if you are considering applying, match tends to be the hardest part for potential applicants. So I would say, you know, really start working on, you know, your strategic plan, but also really start working on, you know, getting that match requirement and that commitment locked in, and really figuring out who the most important, you know, partnerships are that you can bring to the table. And also encourage everyone to visit our website. You can look at all of the I-6 awards and seed fund awards by calendar year, so it goes all the way back to 2014, and you can see the wide variety of projects and programs we funded. Awesome, and I'm going to hand it off to my colleague, Craig.
Thanks, Emily. Here's a different one. Let's throw you a curveball here. This is not the Regional Innovation Strategies program, nor is this anything we've done before. So this is a very new grant effort, grant program in partnership with two other great agencies here at Commerce, NIST and FirstNet. It's the Accelerate R2 Network Challenge. We're looking to foster increased connectivity across innovation efforts in the response and resiliency sectors. Our interest, and you know, the details are on this webpage or on the webinar right ahead of you, but we also have a full program page, the link below, and we just conducted a formal webinar 1 hour ago, in fact. So sorry, it looks like we just missed you, but good news is the recording will be available in a likely 24 hours. Sorry, we're laughing because I didn't realize that this webinar was happening just after the last webinar, but the recording will be available. And what we are interested in, EDA, as always, we're looking for jobs. We're looking for economic resiliency. So in this case, we're hoping that increased technology commercialization, increased entrepreneurship in these industries will lead to economic development. Our partners at FirstNet are interested in modern technologies that their stakeholders, our first responders, can leverage and use on the new nationwide first responder network. And then NIST Public Safety Communications Research Lab has a very, very broad, large research portfolio supporting commercialization in response communications. So a lot of stuff happening here. Just check out the NOFO, please. Check out the webpage. And I think we might have some questions, but I don't know if we have time to get to those. My last thought is that I'll leave you with a visual here. Right now, I think these stars may broadly dictate some of the pockets of innovation happening in these sectors. I think in Louisiana, for example, in New Orleans back in 2005, post-Katrina, EDA was very involved in developing the entrepreneurship community there. And it was no surprise to us that many of the entrepreneurs there that decided to tackle some of the toughest problems were tackling disaster-related problems, water management, water mitigation, flood mitigation technologies. In California, we're seeing that as the state tries to address their drought and their fire challenges. In North Dakota, there's an interesting UAV, UAS technology cluster developing around the university and the research lab out there. There are pockets of this stuff happening, either directly supporting response and resiliency technologies, or indirectly because of a variety of sectoral applications. But what we want to do is this right here, and connect these types of activities. And let me pause for a second and bang the table. These types of activities, this is not prescriptive. So do not look at this visual as exclusive or limiting. This is purely to inspire some ideas, because we want to create a critical mass. And with a critical mass, hopefully we can formalize an industry and grow that to really improve entrepreneur participation, investor participation, government participation, and mature this industry. Hopefully, over time, a productive grant could lead to this type of growth. Again, this is just an example to spur some thoughts. Many years ago, the clean tech industry or the ag tech industry might have raised some eyebrows when people were discussing what exactly that was. I think in a decade plus, investors and business community really understands, there is a universal understanding of what those terms mean. I think we'd like to see the same type of standards and understanding embraced in this community, so we can improve the technology readiness and the equipment and all sorts of impacts along those use cases for our first responders, for our communities, and yes, for jobs and economic development. I think that's it for this. Just refer to our website, please. Bernadette, I don't know if we got time for questions or if any came in, but really appreciate you sharing this community with us for the day.
Yeah, thank you guys very much. We do have time for questions. If anyone has any, feel free to type them into the chat box or the Q&A box. We've got a couple of minutes here. We only have a few more slides to touch on today.
The R2 Network Challenge is live, and letters of intent are due January 8th. I'll highlight that. So open and ready. That is a real live event, and please get hot on that, as I know time quickly slips away over the holidays.
Yeah, so one question we got in is, will the slides be made available? Yes, we will be sending out these slides after I'm able to clean up the webinar a little bit. Both the slides and the webinar will be posted on the UC webpage. So you can access everything that we've gone through on this webinar there, and you'll be able to access the slides that you've just viewed from Craig and Emily on the website that they posted here. So multiple places. Anything else? Not seeing any coming in. All right. Well, you've heard it from the experts here. So take a look at this, the information that they provided, and feel free to reach out if you have any other questions. One more. Okay. This is interesting. All right. You're welcome. All right, we'll move on. Thank you both. Appreciate it. So the last couple of things I wanted to cover is just a couple of general announcements. Again, another reminder about Stats America. That website is maintained by our friends at Indiana University, Indiana Business Research Center. They're excellent at what they do. There's a lot of data and resources available to you there. So please check that website out and do so frequently, because it's changing quickly. And we also have our website, the University Center webpage, which we're working on updating. It's just been a slow process, but hopefully we'll be able to get all of your programs represented soon. And the last thing that I wanted to bring to everyone's attention is just a thought about how you might engage with tribes in your region. I was recently just made aware of this map that shows the presence of tribes and reservations across the United States. There are 326 Indian reservations and 567 recognized tribes. that's a lot, and that's an opportunity there that we might be able to tap into. Universities can play a role in beginning to explore the importance of these tribes as economic engines in the community or communities they serve. And while they aren't as prevalent in the east or south, there are still some, and there's a heavy presence in the west, and it's just something that I wanted to bring to everyone's attention as a potential opportunity because of the economic role that these tribes play, especially in rural areas where many of the reservations are, and where in rural areas these reservations are often the largest employer for their area. So tribes could be excellent partners in the work that some of our UCs are doing. And as we move forward with trying to strengthening the program, the University Center program across the US, it's just something to consider. So I actually just have a poll, moving backwards. I have a poll question that I wanted to give you guys a quick opportunity to respond to. I'm just curious how many of our UCs on the phone right now are currently engaging with their tribes in their regions, and if so, what does that engagement look like? And I'll just give you a couple of minutes to respond before we move on to the last slide.
We're rolling in slowly but surely. And one of the ways for those of you who have not engaged with your local tribes, university centers are traditionally very adept at supporting both economic development districts and tribes in preparing their SEDS documents. And so that might be a way that you can reach out and partner. I know we've done that across at least 24 tribes. So.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. That's a great reminder. Well, as you guys are filling out the poll questions, I'll just give you a couple more minutes here. Well, less than a couple more minutes. As I said, the video of this webinar will be posted. Just give us a week or so to do that. We'll have the slides available, and they'll be both on the EDA's website and on EAUC's website. So you'll have multiple opportunities to access those. We'll be doing a social media blast as well, just so folks have access to that. Just got in a question in the chat box. Oh, never mind. Okay, I think we're gonna move forward. We got about half of the folks voted, but that's all right. I think we got a good sense of where folks are at. Just move on to the next slide here.
There we go.
All right. Dan, did you want to talk a little bit again about the EAUC spring meeting?
Sure. The only thing I'll mention here is that I'll send out an email follow-up to this webinar just to seek volunteers who might want to serve on the electric conference committee to help both drive the content as well as maybe identify speakers for the conference in DC. So look for an email in the coming weeks, and maybe Bernadette, you and I can coordinate on it. So we're sending out just one email to everyone about both the webinar video as well as the volunteering for the EAUC spring meeting. Great.
Okay, sounds good.
And then the next event is January 22nd. Is that what I saw?
22nd at 3 p.m. Eastern. Just trying to stick with our about the third or fourth week of every other month. January 22nd seems to work best. I just launched another poll, so please take a second to respond to that. We're always looking for ideas for new topics, and we want to make sure that we're responsive to you and your needs. So we're looking for volunteers, of folks to be presenters, so let us know if you're interested, and if so, what topics you might be able to present on. Please note that if you select other, email me, and we can coordinate if you have an idea of another topic idea. So we fully intend on sticking to every other month for these webinars. We've found them to be valuable across the United States so far. We've had some good feedback, and we want to make sure that we continue to make sure that this is something that is valuable to you. We don't want to waste anyone's time, but somebody's having issues submitting on the poll. I am sorry about that. I'm not sure what the problem is. Don't know. Might be a server issue. Another question that came in is, can we have access to the PowerPoint immediately? I can promise to have this up by Monday, but I can't get it to you immediately just because I want to make sure that we get the slides and the recording taken care of at the same time, and we're able to work with our webmaster to get everything posted at the same time. But if you absolutely need it now, feel free to email one of us, and we'll send that to you privately. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Next week is fine.
Great.
All right, so it looks like there's some interest in topics on opportunity zones and disaster recovery and tribal engagement. That's great. I'm glad that there's folks who are participating in some of these areas, and I would love to hear more about what that looks like. So this is really helpful. Thank you guys very much for responding to the poll. Is there, does anyone have any questions who's on the line now, or any issues that you'd like to address? We're happy to kind of hear you out for a couple more minutes before we yield the remainder of the time. Don't. All right, is there anything else you'd like to cover, Dan?
There's a question up there. Sorry.
Yeah, any suggestions or unique ideas to secure match? To be honest, I'm not an expert on that program, but I can follow up on that for you. And you should also feel free to reach out to Emily or Craig. Their contact information should be on the website, but I will make a note of this right now.
And then the other thing, the PowerPoints does have a link to everyone who was funded in the first round. And
yeah.
So contacting those previous people who have been funded to see how they were able to successfully scare up matching funds would be a good thing to start right now.
Absolutely. Looking at past grantees is a great resource. We do have another question that came in. Are there any resources for new University Center employees to become familiar with your organization? So if you're asking about becoming more familiar with EDA and the University Center program, I would say that our website is unfortunately the best resource right now. We're working on updating that, but Dan may have some other ideas as a convener.
And what was the question exactly? Was it just more information about university centers, or?
Are there any resources for new University Center employees to become familiar with your organization? So maybe with your organization, Dan.
Yeah, if it's that, I can send you some more information. If you can share me the contact information, I can send out more about the EAUC and what we've done in the past, so, and what we can do.
Okay, great.
Great.
Thank you, Tom. We will make sure we get you some more information about both EDA programs and EAUC. All right. Well, it's 3:45 Eastern Time, so I think that's about all I've had come in so far. I think this was a great webinar, short and sweet, but thank you all for joining, and be on the lookout for both the slides and the recording, as well as an invitation for the next webinar that will be held at the end of January. Thank you all very much. Have a great rest of your day.